Hello there and welcome back. Now, photography competitions. Nothing causes more controversy in the photography community as photography competitions, and this week has been no different as it erupted around this year's Landscape Photographer of the Year. So in this video we're going to discuss that whilst out in the Lake District, catching the last remnants of autumn, and I'm going to do this tentatively because there is a risk, I suppose, today of offending a few people. Before we get going today, this video is sponsored by Squarespace. If you need a domain name, a website, or an online store, make your next move with Squarespace. One of the first issues with photography competitions, which I am suffering right now, is the sense that you are just not good enough as a photographer, because we go out at times like this and we try and make good images. And I'm really struggling at the moment to find a suitable composition. I'm in this lovely wood on the side of this very steep hill. There are some lovely autumnal colours around still. There's loads of interesting trees. There's a nice backdrop, but I can't seem to make anything of it. So I'll have a quick look around, trek up the rest of this hill, which is especially steep. But oof, look at the moss on this tree here. That is absolutely beautiful, so delicate. Did you know as well that reindeer love to eat moss? A little fun fact for you. But let's crack on. We'll find a composition and then I will tell you what's been kicking off this week. So a few weeks ago, the results of this year's Landscape Photographer of the Year were announced. It's a pretty big competition in the UK. There's a £10,000 prize. It's run by Charlie Waite, who I did used to work with, don't anymore. I also don't have any insider knowledge. But then, just this week gone, it seems this year's competition has been plagued with problems. People were commended and weren't told about it. Their pictures ended up in the book and they weren't told about it. And I think people who are in that position feel, rightly so, I think, that they have missed out on an opportunity. They provide their images to this competition, they pay their entry fee, and they weren't told that they'd won. So they've missed out on the opportunity to enjoy it and to promote their own work and make the most of that. So I kind of understand why they're upset. And it really kicked off on Twitter. There's a couple of blog posts gone around that have kicked things off as well. A lot of criticism sort of pointed towards Landscape Photographer of the Year generally. But one thing that I was thinking during the whole thing, I used to work with Charlie, like I said, and I asked him to let me film the judging process and the competition process on this channel to make that transparent. And that probably would have solved a lot of the criticism that often gets thrown their way. I'm just going to interrupt there because since filming this video, Landscape Photographer of the Year have issued a statement from Charlie Waite. And I said Charlie was a good guy, and I still believe that because he's come out and taken responsibility and fully apologised for the issues. And he writes on Instagram saying, I wanted to fully understand and reflect on the issues. Goes on to say, I am sorry, truly sorry. El Porti has not delivered to its high standards this year, and I'm now acutely aware of the communications breakdown with some of you during and after the judging process. There have been a number of considered responses from rightfully disappointed photographers about the status of their entries and their position within the awards and commendations. It is especially to those photographers who missed the opportunity to be fully recognised that I owe the most sincere apology. So I'm sure by the time the competition comes around next year, these issues will be sorted and we won't see a repeat of anything like happened this year. But yeah, I think that's really good that he has come out, owned it, apologised. And yeah, I don't think you can ask for too much more than that. But now let's talk about competitions generally. And then the other day, someone asked on Twitter, what's the point of photography competitions? And I laughed and sort of replied saying, they're really just there to leverage people's desire for attention and recognition in order to make money from their intellectual property. Now, that is the biggest issue I've always had with photography competitions. You pay to enter, you then give your work to them with a chance of winning, and then they get to use your picture in all of their material, including a book that they then sell for money for them. And the whole thing generates revenue on the back of your intellectual property, your photos. And that has always been a sticking point for me and sat uncomfortably with me. The stupid thing is though, that was until I entered one, the British Photography Awards, and I won. And that softened my approach for a little while. I then got to know Charlie as well, and he's a good guy. He's not trying to exploit anything. He just wants to promote photography. But I'm convinced there is a way to do it where a photography competition does not benefit from your intellectual property. Some sort of revenue sharing model where any sales from the book or anything that includes your photo or intellectual property, you get a share of that profit if your work appears somewhere. Granted, it's not going to be that easy to organise and run, but I think that is the best way to promote photography and share the passion for it. And there's nothing wrong with wanting attention and recognition. We work very, very hard for these photos, often on our own, often alone. It's a very solitary hobby or profession. So getting a bit of feedback, getting a bit of recognition, someone saying to you, oh mate, that is a fantastic picture. Congratulations, here's a commendation in a competition. That's good, isn't it? That's why we enter these things. And if you can benefit off the back of that with a bit more attention on social media, which might lead to a bit of money, you might sell a few more workshops or prints, that's a win-win situation. So it's definitely not all bad. It's just that little uncomfortable thing of who benefits the most. I don't think it's always weighted quite in the middle. I don't think it's quite balanced, just like a good picture should be. Just like this one I'm trying to take now. So if let's pick you up a second and take you around here. So as you can see, I am set up for a shot. I have been for a little while now, because as I was walking up this hill to get to the top there where those lovely trees are, the light broke through the clouds. There was rays coming down through the clouds. This scene completely changed the landscape, and the rays hit a little hill there, which created a lovely contrast. And it's a real classic moment in the Lake District where things change really fast. And I don't quite think I caught the moment. I had to change lenses because I wanted to get in there close. It's my real favourite kind of landscape image where you're picking some interesting details out of the scene in front of you. It's a beautiful, wide, sort of panoramic view here, but I wouldn't want to just take that because it's a bit dull, and with the cloud base it creates a very uninteresting flat line towards the top of the image. But when the light broke through, I zoomed in, picked something out, and I think it was quite interesting. It's starting to rain a bit now, but yeah, I think I caught something, so let me just have a quick look. Yeah, yeah, I've caught something. I'll show you that now. I'm set up for another composition, and I have climbed up into that cloud base now, so I am surrounded by this beautiful mist which is bringing these trees to life and just making a number of lovely compositions available. But I am set up here, and I've got the Canon R5 today with this absolutely insane 28 to 70 f2 lens. Absolutely massive thing, probably overkill for landscape photography, but it is a beautiful thing. But the composition I have set up here is another good example of one of the hidden impacts of photography competitions, and the impact in this case is on us, because you may have a photography style that does not do well in landscape photography competitions. It's not the big vista, it's not the big saturated sunset, something where there's loads of drama in it, something that's going to hit the national press and get that type of attention. If you are the sort of person who makes simple and artistic compositions, then you may find that you're going to struggle, and that is what I'm trying actually to create here. The similar sort of thing happens in international competitions as well, because some countries, it's got to be said, are just more impressive than others when it comes to their landscape photography opportunities. The UK's great, endless opportunities, but they're not the sort of thing that Canada might have. They don't have the sort of mountains that the Alps have. So geography can make a difference as well, and that again doesn't sit quite right with me. I like the simple stuff. I love a simple image, and that's what I'm going to capture right now. I'm going to photograph it again because as the cloud base clears a little bit and reveals a bit of the background, that makes it a different image. See, I really like that. So what I'm doing is just using that tree there, which I think is dead. And you can see how the years of getting battered by the wind have kind of made it point in that direction. And it's got these autumnal grasses, which I just think look fantastic. So I'm at f8 because I only want the tree in focus really. I don't mind if the background gets blurred out a bit. And then at 1/20th of a second, I'm at ISO 125 for no apparent reason. 2-second timer, focusing on the tree itself, and crouch down a bit, get to the camera. And I love that kind of thing. I really do. Simple, elegant. I hesitate to say somewhat artistic, but I feel like it is. But it's absolutely not the sort of image that will ever win a photography competition. And the key thing is to be okay with that. You've got to be okay with that. Right, I've hiked to the top of this fell and been welcomed with no view. And I kind of knew that was going to be the case, but I wanted to show my commitment to you, to show you the effort I put in to make these videos, and also to show my commitment to today's sponsor, who is Squarespace, and then to introduce you to each other, because in my opinion, Squarespace is the best place for photographers to build their website. And the main reason is it's just so easy to do. You just go to squarespace.com, pick one of their beautiful templates to suit your needs, and then put a few of your pictures on there, a little bit of your text, and then before you know it, you will have a unique and beautiful looking website. And secondly, you don't need any technical knowledge. If you can drag boxes around on Windows, you can build a Squarespace website, and it'll do everything technical for you automatically, like adjusting your website down to fit any screen that the person's viewing it on, including a phone, which in 2023, coming nearly to 2024, is the most important thing, because everyone looks at websites on their phone these days. You can also start with a simple gallery and make your images look big and beautiful, and unlike on social media where they control everything and they compress everything disgustingly, you have total control of how your photos will appear to people, and I think that's a beautiful thing. Squarespace will then grow with you, and if you want to start selling things like books or prints or anything else, you can upgrade to an online store, and that is just as easy to do as well. They have award-winning customer service. I've used them for many years and have never looked back. And yeah, if you need a website, really the only place to go to, in my opinion, is Squarespace. So go to squarespace.com to start your free trial today, or click the link down below and then use the offer code FIRSTMAN to get 10% off your first purchase. Right, it's starting to get pretty dark now. So I think I'm going to start heading back down before we talk about probably the biggest impact of photography competitions. Right, it's later in the day now, the light's starting to fade, so I'm set up for one more shot. It's another image that would not win a photography competition. The light is pretty flat now, so I'm going to shoot a very flat image, and it's the underside of this tree that's fallen down. It's a super impressive, huge tree. The base of it, the roots, I suppose, the underside of the roots, it's obviously fallen down a long time ago, covered in moss, covered in a bit of lichen, I think, as well. Some grasses and other things are growing on it now, and it's just a fantastic texture. So I'm going to capture a really nice flat textured image. I'll show you that one at the end. But by far, the biggest hidden impact of photography competitions is that the impact is very minimal. Very minimal indeed, even if you win. What I'm trying to do now with my photography is to aim for satisfaction, fulfillment and happiness. Whereas in the past, I was always reaching for something. I was always pushing for something. I was always driving for something, ambitious to make something happen. You're just never going to find fulfillment doing that. And photography competitions are quite similar. When I won my photography competition, and it was great. I had a good time. It was fun, but ultimately it was meaningless. And that's definitely true these days, because everybody is an award-winning photographer. It's on everybody's bio. One thing of interest, though, is that normal people seem to pay more attention to it. So maybe that recognition is felt outside of the photography world. But I got in the paper, and still nothing came of that. And the truth is, if you win a photography competition, even a big one, you maybe know this going into it as well, is that there is no such thing as a big break. The key to all of this is just to keep on working, keep on doing it, and keep on making pictures and being artistic and being creative because you love it, because it makes you happy. If you are doing it for some external reason, you're going to suffer, you're going to tire of it, and you're going to lack motivation. I've definitely been in that position so many times. I'm trying now to get that mindset where it's purely positive and it's purely for my happiness, and then that feeds into the people that I work with, because you're less desperate, and that positive energy feeds into everything else that you do. By being content with yourself and the images that you are creating, then externally it doesn't matter. We don't need people to like us. We're just putting our work out into the world to communicate something, to say something, and offer people a chance to react to that and make it possibly resonate with them in some way. And then when it does, it is a fantastic feeling, but you can't force it. So just keep working hard, keep making images. But I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on another one very, very soon.